happening? Welcome to Throwing Stones, alongside Ryan Griffin. I'm Matt Basson. And if you don't know by now, you should know, we talking hoops. Before we get into that, got to remind you to like and subscribe wherever you can find us. That'd be TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, full eps on YouTube, as well as DetroitSportsNation.com. Ryan, we in the semifinals now. Game 1 of the Celtics and Bucks happened. And, man, I think the Celtics quickly found out they ain't playing the Brooklyn Nets. They playing a completely different animal. And so my question is, after watching how just dominant Milwaukee really was in that game and how just inept the Celtics looked. I mean, you're talking about a team that shot, 33% from the field, 36% from deep, which doesn't sound terrible, except for the fact that they took 50 3-pointers.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
And this team only made 10 2-point shots the entire game, which I don't know if I've ever seen before. Is game 1 just a bad game for the Celtics, or is it a sign of issues that they cannot overcome against this Milwaukee Bucks team?
I think it's a bad game. Now, transparency, we do have a cheat sheet. The Celtics are up 15-3 right now against Milwaukee. Started game 2. At least they started out strong. But why you would say it was just a bad game is you mentioned the 36% from 3, which isn't that bad. But the Celtics also missed a ton of open threes that normally they would have made. Maybe they came out thinking, hey, Chris Middleton isn't here. We're going to have the first 2 games at home. This should be something easy for us. They were coming off a sweep, so maybe, they're a little bit rusty. Granted, the Bucks only played 5 games against the Bulls, so I don't know how much of that excuse that you lend some credence to. And then in game 2, they're not going to have Marcus Smart, at least for game 2, and it still seems like Middleton's going to be out the entire series. So I do think it was a bad game. I don't necessarily know that means they can beat the Bucks anyway, right, in the series, because they just don't have a player on the level of Giannis Antetokounmpo as great as Jason Tatum has been this year. He's still no Giannis. Giannis has proven that he can do it in the playoffs just last year. He's got 2 regular season MVPs, and that might end up being the difference. Tatum can't really muscle out Giannis like he could KD last series, and even in the first game where Giannis didn't shoot so well, he still had a triple-double, and he still dominated really on both ends of the floor. I think his plus-minus, which isn't always the best stat. I think he was like plus 26 or something, shooting, 10 of maybe 25.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. It's a big difference. Look, no one else really has a Giannis. There's a couple out there maybe that are similar as far as size and skill level. But to be 6'11", or 7 foot, I'm not sure exactly what his height is at this point, and have the skills that he has and the ability to really take it to the rack. Yeah, Jason Tatum is a really good player, but he's not tall enough to take care of Giannis, and Giannis is just as strong, if not stronger, than Jason Tatum. Kevin Durant, nowhere near that strength. He's got other ways where he's sneaky, he's crafty, he's a great shooter, and all that, but the man's slender as can be. And so that not have that muscle, and now you have to deal with that muscle, that's a big turnaround for someone of Jason Tatum's, ilk to have to try and get ready for, while also trying to carry the team offensively. And, he didn't have a great game 1. He had 21 points, but it took 18 shots to get there. He really had no help, essentially. Brown had 12, Horford, and so did Al Horford. Marcus Smart had 10, but that was it. So, I'm wondering, you might be right with the whole taking them lightly with no Chris Middleton, because we were talking about this, and as good as the Bucks are, to not have your second best player can be really detrimental against a very good team. And in the playoffs, you're generally playing very good teams. But Giannis got a bunch of help. Drew Holiday pitched in, Bobby Portis pitched in, Grayson Allen pitched in. And, unlike Brooklyn for the Celtics, they're now playing a team that plays a little bit of defense as well. And so the life just got a lot harder for the Celtics to have to get through this. And you already given up home field advantage. Definitely not a good look. They have to bounce back, and, now you got Magic coming out tweeting that if the Celtics lose this game, it's going to be a sweep by Milwaukee. I mean, you got to feel good going home up 2-0. It doesn't mean the series is over, but this feels like it is a must-win game for Boston, because you don't want to go to Milwaukee down 0-2.
No, you certainly don't. And that Magic Johnson tweet reminded me of, I think it was last year or the year before, it might have even been the Celtics. Maybe they were playing the Bucks. Somebody they won Game 1, and then Paul Pierce said the series is over. And then I think pretty sure the Celtics went on to lose the series. Again, it might not have been the Celtics. It was somebody. I was trying to rack my brain about that today, but it was just funny. You had the Celtics great player curse, and now the Lakers. The Lakers might add a curse in there as well that actually favors the Celtics, because there's no reason Magic Johnson should have ever tweeted that. And I'm sure the Bucks fans are probably pretty upset that he tweeted that. But it's not a curtain call for the series, only because Middleton's not going to be there. 0-2 in Milwaukee seems like it'd probably be a death sentence, but the Celtics are a good enough team that they could win both those games. On the road, if it came to it, nobody would certainly expect them to do it. But even before the Marcus Smart news tonight, they were pretty decent favorites. They were favored by 5 points in what you might consider a must-win game. So Vegas certainly thinks the Celtics are better without Middleton in the lineup for Milwaukee. And I think most of the fans before Game 1 would have picked the Celtics to win the series. But now with no Marcus Smart in this game, we don't know how much further. And with the Bucks looking like they did in Game 1, I think most of the opinions have probably shifted.
Yeah, I mean, playoffs are all about adjustments as well. We've seen, you go back in history, the 85 NBA championship was a rematch of 84 between the Celtics and the Lakers were looking for that revenge from 84 and losing in 7 games, and they came out in Game 1 and got absolutely obliterated by Boston. It's called the Memorial Day Massacre. It's a famous game for how much Boston beat the Lakers by. Lakers ended up winning that series in 6 games. So, it does not mean everything for one game. It's all about those adjustments. And Ime Udoka, we're going to find out what kind of adjustments he can make. He really didn't have to make adjustments against Brooklyn. You kept winning. So I'm sure there were little tweaks here or there to make sure you kept winning. But coming off a loss, you find out the adjustments that work and what doesn't. So, I'm hoping for a long series. This should be a fun one. So Celtics are going to have to do their part to make sure they're
working right now
that way. All right, moving on.
18.
The 2-3 matchup in the West. The Memphis Grizzlies survive the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Golden State Warriors just absolutely obliterated the Denver Nuggets. In Memphis, Minnesota series, Brian, we saw an absolute anomaly as Memphis became the first team in NBA history for the playoffs to win 3 games in which they trailed by double digits in the fourth quarter. And they did it in one series. I'm saying this has never been done 3 times by a team in one playoffs, and this team did it in one series. Legit, Minnesota could have won this series in 5 if they knew how to play the fourth quarter a little bit better, but Memphis found a way to get it done. And now they're facing a different animal because the Golden State Warriors have won championships on closing out games in the fourth quarter. So you're going to have to do it a lot better. And we saw in Game 1, I mean, this was a heck of a game, back and forth, and the fourth quarter was just, a joy to watch, 1-point game going back and forth. And I mean, it came down to what ended the Minnesota series was a Ja Morant layup. He had his chance, a little bit better defense by Golden State on this one. And that one went, a little bit strong. The one before it, Steph Curry got all of it. And Golden State ekes out a Game 1 win despite some bad shooting performances at the free throw line by Klay Thompson.
Yeah, Klay missing those free throws was almost as shocking as blowing 3 double-digit fourth-quarter leads in a single series to lose the game. That was honestly pitiful by Minnesota, and they're not in anymore, so we shouldn't spend so much time talking about it. But what an embarrassment. Celebrate the play-in like that. To lose the one game by 26, and then you lose all those games like that, and then Towns is out there after the game waving to the crowd or something. You're lucky he didn't get beer thrown on him. It's amazing, right? Like Memphis, you shouldn't have been that close with the 7 seed on paper. Most 2 seeds aren't. And you figure it's probably, it's probably not a good sign to go up against the Warriors who seem like they're clicking at the right time, as opposed to Memphis who struggled with the much lower seeded team. And for Golden State to be clicking like this, in Game 1 you had Draymond thrown out, and you have a couple interesting matchups, I think. And most of them are going to favor Golden State. One thing that I do think bodes well for Memphis, though, is Jaren Jackson Jr., but he has to stay on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who can wreck really everything that Golden State wants to do if you want to go small. Jaren Jackson Jr. is like the perfect center to do that. He can step out and hit threes. He's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and he's someone that Draymond really can't guard. Both being from Michigan State, Xavier Tillman, he got a start too, so shout out to him. 30% of the starting lineup coming from MSU,
Mm-hmm.
but he gets into foul trouble. So if you're going to do that, obviously you're not going to be effective against the Warriors because you're going to be on the bench. And game one was just a weird game. Clay made the big stop at the end. Jordan Poole was on fire, and Steph didn't really play all that well, but he played good enough for them to win. And just having him on the court is something that obviously terrifies Memphis because you always have to have somebody with him, even though you can throw a guy like Dylan Brooks or Desmond Bane on him who can do a pretty good job defensively. But you still always have to stay with him, and then you're letting either Klay Thompson, kill you like he did, hitting the game-winning three before he missed the free throws, or you're letting Jordan Poole attack and come off screens and everything like that. And it's just really hard to play Golden State, and I think the Grizzlies are learning that, but I also think they're a team, honestly, that does kind of match up well with them defensively.
Yeah, I don't know about you. When Draymond went out, I thought the game was pretty much over. I thought Memphis was going to take it from there. We know how important Draymond Green is to the Golden State Warriors. While he might not always show it on the stat line, he's the emotional leader. He's their defensive leader, and he does the dirty work, whether it's a clean dirty or a really dirty. He does the dirty work for the Golden State Warriors. And when he went out, I really thought, okay, well, game one's going to go to Memphis now. And yet the Warriors were still able to pull out a victory, which I think is really important for them to know they can still do that this late in the season without one of their best players, one of their emotional leaders. But if they can do that without Draymond, I don't know how Memphis makes the adjustments necessary unless they do exactly what you said, where Jaren Jackson is able to stay on the floor. Look, he had a great game one with 33 points. Was he like 5 for 6 from deep or something like that? Had a much better game one against Golden State than any game against Minnesota. So if he's able to continuously give you that kind of production and stay on the floor, that's obviously their best shot. But if he gets in foul trouble as well, I think Memphis is in real trouble in this series.
Yeah, he's a big key for them. He's obviously not the most important player. That'd be John Morant, but Jaren Jackson only because of what he can do. Right? You mentioned the Timberwolves series, but there he's going against Karl Anthony Towns, who's way bigger. He can rebound, so he kind of has to stay out on the floor against Golden State because Draymond's not a threat to shoot. You really can stay back, and then you can help on all those drives in the lane. But game one was fantastic. It was high scoring, 116 to 117 or something like that. So this is a series that I'm really looking forward to continuing. And as much as I like Golden State, and I want them to win the series and eventually the title, I think I'd like this series to go 7 games too, especially if we're going to get 7 of those game
1-point games. Heck yeah. To take that all day. Right. Give me 7 1-point games.
Total margin of victory by 7.
Right.
Or I guess 4 if Memphis won by 3.
So let's talk about the ejection, because people are feeling some type of way, one way or the other, on it. I personally understand the ejection. I heard Draymond after the game, and he's talking about I was using the jersey to hold him up, and it's like, yeah, you were using the jersey to hold him up eventually. But your initial grab of the jersey was not to rescue the man. It was doing this. You are pulling down on that man, which is not a safe play whatsoever. Now, in the end, you used it and, trying to hold him up. I don't know how well that's going to work. The jersey might just rip and the guy's going to hit the ground anyway. But I understand the flagrant 2. I don't disagree with it. I think the finals call that he keeps mentioning was way more of a problem. I didn't think he deserved the suspension for that whatsoever. For this, an ejection in this game, you're grabbing a man's jersey when he's on his way up for a shot, layup, dunk, whatever. That's not a basketball play.
Well, so the jersey grab just kind of seemed like it happened, and I do think he was trying to at least break his fall, maybe not hold him up, but keep him from doing who is it, Kleber for the Mavs did. Did you see that, where he was hanging on the rim and then someone came and straight undercut him, and then he just, bad news bears there. But I mean, the thing that probably should have got Draymond, ejected if you're gonna be team ejection is he hit him in the face pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
And was he going for the ball? Probably. Like, can that happen? Yeah, guys are fast. The ball's moving everywhere. So I don't think he should have been ejected, but I didn't think it was egregious because he got him right clean in the face.
Well, right.
So, like, if you're gonna call that seems pretty. Again, if you're not Draymond, are you gonna get ejected? Probably not. But it did seem like a reputation call, but I didn't think it was super egregious or ridiculous like Draymond said it was on his podcast.
I keep seeing the same play over and over again where he's going for the ball, he misses, hits him in the face. The hand's coming down and he grabs. And now he's pulling. And then Clark's falling. And then Draymond's trying to do this so that he doesn't fall as hard. But the initial contact to me for the jersey wasn't a grab to rescue. It was a grab and pull. And then it became a rescue. I keep watching this. I'm like trying to see where he's saying I just used the jersey to help him up, hold him up. And I'm like, no, your initial reaction on the jersey is grabbing and going down. It's not coming up. So, like, to me, I don't care who you are, Draymond or Scottie Pippen or Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. You grabbing someone's jersey and it looks like you pulling them down, I think you're going to get at least a flagrant 1, if not a flagrant 2 for it. MJ might get out of it altogether, but...
Well, MJ's the reason that Pippen didn't win any Defensive Player of the Year awards. Didn't you know?
According to Scottie Pippen. All right, other battle in the West. By the way, we got nothing but chalk here in these semifinals, which is hilarious because on the way to nothing but chalk, it certainly didn't feel like a nothing but chalk bracket. But we got 1-4 and 2-3 on both sides. So the 1-4 in the West, the Suns and the Mavs, and Ryan, the Phoenix Suns bulldozed the league to the tune of 64-18 on the year. And then in the first round, the 36-win New Orleans Pelicans gave them everything they could handle for 5 games before bowing out in Game 6. But by the looks of Game 1 of this semifinal matchup with the Mavs, that bulldozing Suns team looks like they're back.
Well, okay, so I'm still out on the Suns. Game 6 left a super bad taste in my mouth. Where Chris Paul was 14 of 14. There goes my light for my cats. All right, hold on. God damn it. Break.
Mark that.
Oh, let me see if I can clip this.
I already did.
At least, like,
I marked it.
Give him a shot to. Sorry about that. Bum ass kid. Man.
That was a good shit.
I'm back. I hope that clip thing worked.
Oh, no, I hit it as well. So, we'll make sure to let JB or whoever know to clip this whole little section out.
All right. So, 3, 2, 1. So, I'm out on the Suns. Game 6 against the Pelicans still scared me. I mean, Chris Paul was 14 of 14, and they beat a 36-win team by 6 points. That's a game where Chris Paul's going 14 of 14. You need to win by 25 or 30. And, like, I'm not even being hyperbolic. Like, there's no way that you win that game only by 6 points with Chris Paul playing like that. And to even have the Pelicans take you to 6 games it's like, I don't know, it just left a really bad taste in my mouth. Devin Booker did come back and seem like he didn't miss a beat, which was probably part of that Game 6 failure that they had, because he did play, but he wasn't really himself that game. Mm-hmm. But I'm out on them, and it's sort of hollow because I still think they'll probably beat the Mavericks, because I don't think the Mavericks are that good. I mean, Doncic gave you 45, 12, and 8 in the first game, and it still wasn't really close. I know they made like a really big run at the end, but that game start to finish was not close, even a little bit, really. And so to me, it's just saying, hey, they're going to lose to the Warriors in the next round, which most people might already think right now. But that didn't give me any more confidence for the Suns. And I really kind of expect the Warriors just to roll to the NBA Finals now because that last series left just too bad of a taste in my mouth for Phoenix.
Well, the Warriors got to get there first. They got to get through Memphis. But I mean, I get what you're saying, and
Easy.
the Suns did not look great against New Orleans. They didn't look great even before Booker got hurt. But in this game, they look great. Jumped out 9-0 lead, and then shoot over 50% from the field, dominate the boards by 15. 6 Suns scoring double figures. DeAndre Ayton with 25, Booker with 23, 9 and 8, filling up the stat sheet. CP3 had a nice 19, and exactly what you're saying. You're going up against Luka and the non-All-Stars. It's like the opposite of Jimmy Walker and the All-Stars. Luka does his job, becomes the youngest since my man, Kobe Bryant, to drop 45 and 10 in a playoff game. But besides, Max Kleber, who had a nice 19 points, most of that in the first half, he didn't get any help. Jalen Brunson coming back to earth, 13 points on 16 shots. Spencer Dinwiddie with 8 points on 8 shots in the 30 minutes of play. And despite making a nice run in the fourth to make it only a 7-point loss, you still miss 7 free throws where you make all your free throws. Maybe you end up actually tying this game. But the Suns just played keep away, and they just kept them at arm's length after jumping out to a big lead and never really needing to look back or worry too much. The fourth quarter, you got to clean it up a bit. Obviously, you got to close out games if you're going to win a championship. And I think they should have learned that last year against Milwaukee. But they are more talented than the Mavs, and they shouldn't really have. They've beaten the Mavs now 10 straight times. So they clearly have something over Dallas because Dallas just doesn't have enough people to deal with what the Phoenix Suns are able to bring.
Yeah, and it wasn't even really like a fourth quarter run. It was like a final 3 minutes of the game run. Because the Suns were up, 15 a lot of the fourth quarter. 15 somewhere around there, like in that range. And one thing that was interesting about Jalen Brunson, at least in game one, he seemed way less. I don't know. He just didn't seem like himself in game one, if that made sense. Like he drove to the basket a lot, and it seemed like he was passing up the 3-pointer. And, I really don't know why. He only shot 1 3. And it seemed like he was intent on driving to the basket on a night where he didn't have it. He took a lot of tough shots and missed them, which is fine. That happens in the NBA. But he also had some layups where he just straight missed them off the rim. So I'm wondering if he's going to look for a little bit more of his outside shot in game 2, because that seems like, you talked about it with LeBron and Luka are similar type players. We're surround them with shooters because everyone's going to collapse on them being so big, and so skilled in the paint that when they drive, it's going to draw attention. And it seemed like Brunson, again, whenever he got the ball, he tunnel vision. It was straight to the rim, and it obviously wasn't working out for him. And I don't know if that was – you wouldn't think it was a DeAndre Ayton effect either, because last series they were playing against Rudy Gobert and Hassan Whiteside, who are, more defensively intimidating than DeAndre Ayton is. And it just seemed like, for whatever reason, he was hell-bent on trying to get to the basket. I am interested to see what kind of moves Jason Kidd makes in the playoffs, because he's still not a very, experienced playoff coach, as far as that goes. But I think he's done a pretty good job this year with the Mavericks overall, when to start the year I didn't think he was a good coach. So it's kind of been a roller coaster of of coaching grading, I guess, for Jason Kidd, at least for me. But I'm interested to see what he does. I'm interested to see how Phoenix comes out in game 2. Are they gonna really try and take hold of home court and step on their throat, go up 2-0, or is this a game they're going to give away and they're going to go to Dallas thinking, hey, we just got to get one back?
Yeah, I don't know what Jason Kidd can do. I just don't think he has the personnel to make the changes to attack Phoenix. I understand what you're saying about Jalen Brunson and the centers. Yes, Utah has a much better defensive center than the Phoenix Suns have. But outside of the center, the Phoenix Suns have much better defensive players than Utah does when you're talking about guys playing positions 1 through 4 and not just including the 5. And I think that might be affecting, Jalen Brunson's decision-making. I think he's got to not let it and play his game. Don't worry about what the Suns are doing. Bring what you got and bring what brought you here. You did a fantastic job stepping up for Luka while he was coming back from injury. And you were a huge reason, probably the main reason besides Luka, that you guys are not watching from home and Utah being in this round instead. So you know how to do this. Just do it. Don't worry about the team in front of you, what their jersey number says, what their name says. Just play your game and be more of a help. But I don't know if Luka has enough help outside of Jalen Brunson, who needs to be that big help. Otherwise, Mavs not even going to win a game. As it is right now, I think they win one. I think it's a gentleman's sweep for the Phoenix Suns. I just don't think Dallas has the horses to really take it to the Suns, no matter what adjustments Jason Kidd makes. I just don't think the players are there.
I think the Mavs have to get one because lost in all this, at least the way we're talking about it, I've heard, a lot of it talked about, which is good because he should get some recognition for it, is Luka Doncic is playing amazing and he's been a really good playoff performer in the 3 seasons that he's been in the playoffs. Right now he's tied with Michael Jordan as for highest averages of playoff points in NBA history. They're both at, I think, 33.4, and Luka's just kind of been a machine in the playoffs, which is, commendable. And even last night, to spark their run, he was the guy, and he's now dunking on people, which we didn't see too much of, I don't think, the first few years. He was hitting big threes, and, threes that, honestly, they could have mattered if Dallas was going to have one of the all-time steals in Game 1. I think they have to get a game. I think this guy's just too good to get swept, really.
I hope so. No,
almost like Jordan against the Celtics.
We run out of basketball games as is. The season's coming to an end. I don't want to see a sweep. All right, moving down to South Beach. Philadelphia 76ers showed up in South Beach without their big man, as Joel Embiid is not even in Miami. Man's recovering from an orbital fracture and concussion. And in the first half, Ryan, didn't look like it mattered that much. Miami jumped out to start. Philly came back. Had a nice run there, where they held the Heat to 1 of 9 shooting in the final 6 minutes and actually took a 1-point lead going to halftime and actually extended that lead starting the second half. But after that, man, Heat clamped down defensively, got hot offensively. Tyler Hero, new most improved. No, sorry, not most improved. That was Ja. 6th man of the year, Tyler Hero, dropping 25 points, 4 for 6 from deep and 7 assists. Bam Adebayo had himself a game, 24 and 12. And Jimmy Butler kind of chipped in doing his little, stat-filling sheet while not scoring nearly as many points. But Miami, not the best game, but was able to run away with it still in the second half. And no Joel Embiid. Philadelphia in trouble, Ryan.
Yeah, especially because they're not going to have him for Game 2 either. And, there's optimism that when the series goes back to Philadelphia, he can come back. And to me, I know you have to put it out that way, and you can't say that he's coming back for Game 2. But when you start saying optimism for Game 3, to me at least, it's probably wrong. It sounds like you're just punting the first 2 games, and you're like, I guess we're going to go down 0-2, and then we're going to take it from there. And I just hate that personally. Just say he's out for the game. I don't need optimism when the series comes back, and then you're already putting it in everyone's minds. We're going to be down 0-2. But without Joel Embiid, I don't think there's anything the Sixers can do. Tobias Harris had himself a nice game. But then you're looking at James Harden, who I think, 14 straight playoff games, 11, something like that. He scored under 25 points, which for a guy who is one of the best scorers of all time is unbelievably insane because typically I'm late to the party to call people washed. Right? And this dude's still good. He's still got something in it, even if he doesn't show it all the time. Larry Fitzgerald or something like that. Mm-hmm. Harden just looks like he's washed now. Maybe he'll give you a game of 30 points and 12 assists, but he hasn't done it. If there was a time to do it, it was going to be yesterday. And, Tyrese Maxey, he's still young. He's still got to kind of learn to take these playoff lumps. And, there's nothing else you can really fall back on because not only are the Heat better than the Sixers, especially without Joel Embiid, they're way more experienced. Jimmy Butler's been to a finals. Tyler Hero's been to a finals. Kyle Lowry has a championship ring. PJ Tucker, I don't know if PJ Tucker's actually, I think he won last year with the Bucks. He has a championship ring. And it's just a team, top to bottom that has more experience than a lot of these Philly guys, especially championship experience. And I just don't see a Philly team, especially without Joel Embiid, being able to grab a game. Hopefully he's back for Game 3 and we can make it a series. But without Embiid, they don't have any shot.
Okay, you are being way too kind on whatever thing you said about James Harden. I'm going to say what you should have said. It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing that you are this great of a shooter and you can't do it when it counts. You can't. You've shown it year in and year out. When it matters, when it's on the line, you disappear. And in game 1, you were MIA in MIA. It was terrible. 5 for 13 from the floor, and you're I don't understand. I don't understand how you are not this guy that takes it over. Look, me personally, you already know my feelings on this man. I'm glad he didn't take it over. I want nothing but losses for this man in his life. I hate that Tobias Harris is on his team because I want Tobias Harris to win, but I want nothing but losses in James Harden's life. I hate the man. I think he's a embarrassment to real basketball. Drives me absolutely crazy watching him try to play the game. But look, we've seen what he's done in regular seasons. We've seen the big scoring games and the big assist games, the triple doubles where he has 40-plus points to go along with all the assists and rebounds. Look, I'm not saying the man can't play basketball, but damn, when the game counts and your team needs you, more often than not, you are nowhere to be found. And that's just embarrassing when you were supposed to be that guy.
Yeah, and it's definitely not that guy anymore. You know, in Houston, and you're getting to the Western Conference Finals, and then you're losing to those Golden State teams. Whatever, that's acceptable, right? I don't think many people expected you to advance to the NBA Finals. But now, to even only take 13 shots, like, what are you doing? You're certainly a guy who's never been shy about shooting before. You know, getting your teammates involved when your teammates are, you know, again, Tobias Harris and like Tyrese Maxey. You know, you just got to do more to try and take over. And I understand that that the Heat have a lot of good defenders. You have Jimmy Butler, you have PJ Tucker, you have Max Strus, right? Kyle Lowry. Except Kyle Lowry is going to be out for Bam, and Kyle Lowry is going to be out for game 2. Mm-hmm. So maybe. Again, like, I still don't think the Heat are going to be able to, I don't think the Sixers are going to be able to beat the Heat unless James Harden tries to play like he did in Houston, which we know is not conducive to winning a championship, but it can be conducive to winning a game if you just have one guy you can't stop. But I'm not sure that he's that guy anymore, and taking 13 shots, you know, you're kind of putting your stamp on it that you're not that guy. And I'm someone who's liked Harden throughout his career, so I hope the next game he can give you 35 and 15, and it's like a vintage James Harden performance. I just don't see it.
We're going to find out. We can't be like, it doesn't look good right now. We got 2 series right now that look like they ain't going to go more than 5 games. Like, I'm really hoping that the Dubs and the and the Grizzlies give us a real one. I'm hoping that the Celtics come back and them and the Bucks give us a real one. Because right now it looks like the Suns are going to steamroll. It looks like the Heat are going to steamroll. I hope that's not the case. We're already running out of basketball games as it is. So they only given us 7 of each at the most. And it looks like right now they both going in 4, maybe 5. But we will find out. With the end of the first round, Ryan, we got to talk about the NBA playoff all-disappointing team. Someone took the time to point out these superstars, and those superstars being Trae Young, Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, who I don't really know if he deserves to be on this list. DeMar DeRozan absolutely deserves to be on this list. And KD, who also I'm not sure if he deserves to be on this list. But the numbers that we have seen for what they did in the playoffs, Trae especially. Trae Young, 15 points per game in the playoffs, Ryan. I mean, I understand Miami has some guys that can clamp down defensively, but damn, like that was shocking to see. That's what he averaged for that series. That's rough.
Yeah, I mean, coming off of last year where he had, you know, the round 1 against the Knicks, and there's the birth, the villain Trae, and all that fun stuff. And I think the person who pointed out these 5 names, I think they got it pretty much correct, right? Like, Kyrie had the 1 great game and then played 3 really bad games. Kevin Durant was pretty bad all series, which is one of my favorite players, so that hurt to see that they couldn't even get a game. And I bet that's why there's 2 Nets on there, because they both got swept. Donovan Mitchell, as much as I hate to say it, Rudy Gobert played better than him this series. And, again, way bigger fan of Mitchell than I am Gobert. And then, you know, we just obviously talked about Trae Young. Terrible performance. Yeah, 15 points a game is, like, it seems impossible for a guy who shoots as much as he does, for a guy who gets fouled as much as he does. And, I just don't know what happened, you know, in these series to each of these guys. I mean, you can say, right, KD Tatum played awesome defense on them. They ran into the Celtics, obviously a really good defensive team. Trae Young, you just mentioned, he ran into Miami, who has a bunch of guys, a bunch of different guys that they can throw at him. And and then Donovan Mitchell, who just didn't really play good at all. And Dallas isn't a great defensive team, so really kind of no excuse for him. But it seems like, I don't know, it seems like as these stars kind of declined, and not saying that this is the end of any of these guys' careers, obviously, but, you had some new guys shoot up, right? Jordan Poole has shot up. Jimmy Butler has kind of always been there, but reminded us in the first round. Jason Tatum, trying to take that next leap. So at a lot of these 5 guys' demise was somebody else's, ascension. Jalen Brunson in the Donovan Mitchell case.
Man, the one that went under the rug for me, DeMar DeRozan, 20 points per game, so not terrible, but 41% field goal.
I forgot about DeRozan.
This man was leading the NBA for a time in field goal percentage this year, and just absolutely disappeared in the first round of the playoffs. Again, tough task against the team they had to face. Milwaukee knows how to play defense, and he didn't really have too much help. Levine was missing Levine was missing some games. Obviously, Lonzo wasn't even there, so he didn't have the help. But he hasn't had help for most of the year, and he put up better shooting performances than that. So that one was surprising. Him and Trae Young, I think, take the cake for the MVP of the NBA all-disappointing playoffs.
Didn't KD shoot 38%?
KD shot 38% from the field and 33% from 3. But KD's not shooting the same percentage that DeRozan was shooting this year. KD's usually around 45, 48, something like that. Definitely better than what he did in this postseason. Absolutely. It's just I swear DeMar was at 63% or something like that, midway through the season, 2/3 of the way through the season. Something ridiculous.
Oh, I don't know about 63.
He was up there. I'm telling you. Look it up. I'm telling you, this man had a ridiculous numbers coming into the postseason, and then it all just went to crap. All right, we got coaches.
Yes, I am going to look at it.
On the move, kind of, sort of. We're waiting to see. But the Charlotte Hornets, Sacramento Kings,
rumors
looking to make coaching changes. And we got big names, Ryan, for both these teams, it looks like.
Yeah, the funniest part is I think both Quinn Snyder and Nick Nurse came out and just no, we're good. Mm-hmm. We're good where we're at. Especially, Nick Nurse and Masai Ujiri throwing jabs at the Lakers. But Mike D'Antoni, rumored to be maybe the leader in the clubhouse or something for Charlotte. It seems like it makes a lot of sense. You have Miles Bridges, you have LaMelo Ball. Now you have a guy that can go out and run and gun with them. Now imagine if they get Russell Westbrook too. Just a lot of athletes going straight at the rim. But he's a guy who's obviously mastered that Harden style of play when he was with Houston, and not that Harden and LaMelo are the same type of player, but I can see the offense being centered all around LaMelo, and then kind of dishing it out to these other guys, and then just marrying dysfunction. Mark Jackson to the Kings is the one I want to most happen, because that'd be insane. That would not last a year. There's no way that would last over 1 year with all the craziness that Mark Jackson brings to an organization like the Suns, who can't afford any craziness. The Suns need to go get a guy like Mike Brown, who's just boring as all can be, and you know exactly what you're going to get from him. Even if he's not a good coach, he's not about to do anything stupid. You need to go out, you need to get boring Mike Brown, you need to get somebody, of that ilk to try and stabilize your franchise before you bring in just an agent of chaos like Mark Jackson in there.
Yeah, the Sacramento Kings, we've already been hearing rumors of how it's a, not a healthy, workplace, toxic workplace is being called. Look, what Mark Jackson did with Golden State, man didn't do a bad job. Last year with them, they went 51-31. So not a bad job, not a bad team. But when the owner of the Warriors comes out and says, look, part of it was that he couldn't get along with anybody else in the organization, complimenting him on his job, but the fact that you have 200 people in the organization that you can't get along with, And then you want to go to a dysfunctional organization like the Sacramento Kings that are known for having a toxic workplace. It is absolutely a marriage of disaster that I definitely want to see along with you, Ryan. I just want to be there to hear all the quotes and everything coming out, the quips from the players, the quips from the management. I think it would be an absolute show of the number 2 variety that I would absolutely enjoy. The Charlotte one, and D'Antoni is interesting because, look, Mitch Kupchak's there. Mitch Kupchak was there in L.A. when they brought Mike D'Antoni in years ago. And D'Antoni has been the king of the run and gun long before James Harden stepped on a basketball court. He did it with Steve Nash. It was a heck of a lot of fun to watch. It would be so much fun to watch LaMelo Ball run a Mike D'Antoni office.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah.